Welcome to the Great Debate.
Whoops, sorry about that. I didn't realize I still had my mute muted. My computer's running. There it is. Alright, and welcome Dark Sasuke to our show today.
Hello.
I believe, are you monitoring the stream or do you have a headset in?
I have a headset in.
Okay. Alright. You should be able to see the board on your end.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you've watched this show a few times and you know kind of how this works. We were supposed to have a second guest, but he appears to be running behind, so we'll see what happens from here. Would you like to go ahead and start on the board? Let's get this show rolling.
I want to try the WTF one.
WTF. All right.
I am curious about that one.
Feelings about using stem cells to study organ repair and growth. You know what the stem cell research
From the little I know about it, if it works, awesome. Because from what I know, it would they would use your own stem cells to where if you needed an organ, they would just give you a new organ.
You would use stem cells from embryos of unborn children. They take the stem cells from abortions and from unborn children and from the fetuses, and they use the stem cells to help in the growth of the newborn fetus to assist in the growth of new organs. But the research is delayed because the United States has laws against it. So a lot of people
I've been told
Go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
I was told, I guess basically like the opposite of that. They, when I had my son, they told me, basically, if you give us the stem cells, we can help it if he needs like an extra organ or something like that later on down the road.
Really? They didn't. I have two
kids.
Kids. They didn't explain that to me when I was when we were having our kids, but I was just glancing over. I didn't read through that long. There was like a 62-page thing that I was looking at. It was a PDF file, and I tried to peruse through that as quickly as I could because it really wasn't something I was looking at the time. I was trying to see if it was something worth doing a video on. But I've noticed that the mention of it keeps coming back up again, so I thought I'd see if anybody had any opinions or thoughts on it, and threw it in this category, because I didn't know where else to put it.
I was always trying to figure out what FTW means.
Fuck the world.
I would always say, fuck the what?
Yeah, that works too. But if you see FTW by itself, it usually means fuck the world. If you see WTF by itself, it means what the fuck.
Yeah.
So I figured combining the two of them just made for fun. Yeah, they don't pack stem cells. I gotta read that on a different screen so I can actually read it. Yeah, they don't pack stem cells for your child. What that means is in donating them, they can create cures down the road for your child. Okay, so yeah, we're both kind of on the right track. So when you gave birth to your child, they wanted the cells from the placenta and anything that was left over when the child came out, so that they could take those cells and study their ability to grow organs and I guess basically organs for people after enough studying is done, like the ear that was grown on the back of a mouse. It wasn't using stem cells, it was a different technology, but they think because stem cells are used to help grow embryos from minute cell counts into a person, that those stem cells might be huge in assisting with the advancement of organ repair and or replacement.
Yeah. It's probably good that I didn't let them do it then.
That's part of the controversy is people don't know, is it okay to use this stuff? to, I want to say part of the controversy is they want cells from infants that are stillborn or unborn or miscarriage or aborted, so that they can take the cells at different stages and see what their abilities for those cells are and how they react and what to do with them. It is not so much just organs. It is used to help grow all cells in the body needed to be replicated that are currently not doing so on their own. I say it's about 100% okay now that they do not need fetuses anymore. See, yes, and that was a huge part of it. Is originally they needed the fetal material from the baby, from an unborn baby, from an embryo, in order to measure the cell growth. But I believe they found in the last couple of years that a lot of the material is also found in the placenta, because the placenta is basically the filter going back and forth between the mom and baby. So those cells pass back and forth through that filter. And I believe what they're doing now is trying to use the placenta to harvest stem cells. But because of the rules and laws from them doing it with fetus cells in America, they're not allowed to do it here yet.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about this, so it's probably a good thing my time's up. Alright, so Sasuke, tell us about yourself. Do you have a channel or anything you'd like to promote on the show today?
No, I don't actually have a channel. I'm just a watcher.
You're a watcher.
This is like the first thing I've actually done other than a chat.
Well, that's good. It's just kind of a way to get out there and be seen. I know a lot of us who have channels, and a lot of us other consumers see you in the chat room, so it's good to have you on the show.
Yeah. I tend to play games while other people do actual chats. I play games in the chat.
How about we play a game while we chat?
Sure.
All right. Well, we're back to the board. And not just that they can, but use spinal fluid for the same thing. But the problem with spinal fluid is non-replaceable. Once you take out spinal fluid, it doesn't replenish. Isn't that right? Again, I'm not a doctor, but I believe once you have spinal fluid removed, that doesn't replenish. And the word for that is called a spinal tap, and they hurt like hell.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, it's one of the methods of checking to see if a person's, is it meth? Meth sinks through your spinal cord. It absorbs into your spinal fluid. I'm not sure. It's either meth or methylene, MDMA, methylene dioxymethamphetamine.
Yeah, one of the big words.
I remember from my good old drug days. All right, so here we are back at the board. Would you like another topic?
I want to try video games.
Video games. Are you a gamer?
A little bit of a gamer. My husband is the big gamer.
Okay. Dual wield or grenades? What's your strategy?
Basically push buttons until the controller does something. That's the main strategy. But if it's fighting games, I normally do grenades.
When you said push button, my mind immediately went to a Tekken arcade mode. A B A B A B A B A B A B A B A B.
That's where I learned it from. Is just keep pushing a button until it starts doing something.
You know, there's sequences. So if you do A B A B B B A, it might give you a little better.
Yeah, that's where I've learned quite a few. Just like we have a Mortal Kombat versus the DC universe, and I've learned a couple of different of the combos they have on there just from pushing random buttons.
Yeah. What was the one? Is it not Tekken? Something they made a beach volleyball edition. It was a Chinese game. Why can't I think? I'm having a hard time thinking and multitasking here. Was it Tekken Beach Volleyball or something Beach Volleyball? I used to love that one. You had to get them. You had to get the multi-combo moves, or it wasn't worth playing. Reaper, enjoy your new wrench there. Dual wield or grenades, though. I loved when Halo came out with dual wield. But the problem was, in a game where you can dual wield, when you're dual wielding, you can't throw grenades. So, I myself like clearing an area before I run if I'm not sure what's there. So I'm a grenader. Okay, cool. Here's an area I can't see. I'm going to throw the grenade in there. I'm going to run in with my gun, and that's going to be my strategy. But some people will run in with 2 guns, empty 1 clip, Tekken Beach Ball. Yes, that's the one. They'll run right in with 2 guns, empty 1 gun, start shooting with the other gun, empty that gun while they're reloading the first gun if the game does that, and then just keep switching back and forth and never be out of ammo. Now that's another fair strategy. It works. I've tried it. It's not always the best.
Yeah. We have Uncharted, which is, it kind of allows you to do like the double wield, but not really. There's like a delay between holding the 2 guns, but I just like the grenades of it, because then I can just throw it and duck down and be like, haha, you can't get me.
Okay, there's that. Haha, you can't get me, I'm hiding.
Yeah, my 9-year-old, he mostly is the one, like, I'll be staying back and I'll just shoot people far away, and he'll just go up and just beat people and throw grenades and all kinds of, like, close combat, and I'm just, like, sitting in the back like, tell me when you're done.
Do you know what we call gamers like you?
I call myself a baby gamer.
You're a camper.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, when a bunch of people play, the person that sits in the middle of somewhere, trying to not be seen, trying to pick people off and stay out of the battle, they're the camper.
Yeah, my husband makes fun of me all the time for it. He goes, no, that's not how you do it.
Then you got people like me who on the first couple of rounds I gotta warm up, so I will run right into a crowd of 30 people and die 6 times before I go, okay, let's get a strategy down.
That's my 6-year-old. He is the one that he would just run straight in and then be like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that yet. Let me try this. And then he'll die 4 or 8 times.
But you gotta test what the game's able to throw at you, because sometimes in some games you can weirdly run into a pile of people and walk out. Like there's a game called it's Wet for the Xbox or PlayStation 3, I forget. It was an Angelina Jolie game, I think, and she had to run up walls and all sorts of different stuff. But you could walk into a crowd of like 10, 15 people and take them all out in 4 seconds. And you would have loved that game because there's no actual combos. It's just if you move your thumbstick this way, you hit this way. If you hit this button, you punch this arm. If you know, everything had a set ability to it. And if you managed to streamline it into a combo, yay for you. That was a fun game.
Yeah.
Grenades. The answer is grenades.
Yeah, I tend to throw the grenades. If I can do it from a distance, we're good.
From a distance, you will blow up. That was terrible. Next topic. Lara Croft. Oh, it was Lara Croft, was it? The Wet game? It was actually called Wet.
Yeah.
I might still have it. So, look at all those categories.
Let's try toys.
Toys. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Why are adult sex items called toys?
Because you play with them.
But they're not toys in the inherent meaning of the word toys. This ended up in here because a lot of people kept asking what this topic was for, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to throw one in there just for fun.
I've always just seen them all advertised as just toys, and then when people ask, it's always like, oh, because you play with it during adult time.
I guess I should have looked into this before I jumped on the show. But if you go into an adult shop to buy them, there's actually another name attached to them. Just like if you buy smoking paraphernalia, it's called a tobacco pipe, not a glass pipe. You have to be careful. Like, there's names on the packages when you buy it. It's not an adult toy. It's listed as something else, and I forget what the term is used. A toy is a toy. A toy is a toy is a toy. Adult toy stores. I want to say that, like, there's a sticker on it that says this item is something, it is not meant for internal. Like, almost every adult toy, especially dildos, believe it or not. I'm gonna get demonetized if I were monetized, but there's a thing on it that says not for internal use. Like, I swear, on the packaging of every single one, there's these little things, not for internal use, or there's a word they use to describe the toy, and it's been a while since I've been in that store to look around, and it's not popping in my head right now.
That's somewhat confusing, because that's like, but it is. How can you say it's not?
It is a toy. It's for playing with, but do you have a toy box?
My children have toy boxes.
Sorry, that was a cheap pun. Never mind. But no, you don't. Most kids, they leave toys laying around. Adults know better. Their toys aren't to be left laying around, and if they do it, there's a lot of explaining to do. But yeah,
I watch there's a YouTube, like a set of videos that one of the creators makes. He calls the entire series "Put Your Dildo Away." And he goes through and he shows all of these people that take pictures, and in the background you see just all kinds of just like dildos and adult things, and it's just like, why?
It's part of everyday life now.
Yeah.
Oh.
I see one video where it was there was a dog that had gotten a hold of the toy and was just chewing on the toy in the background.
Somebody forgot to wash it.
Yeah, and then, like, the woman's just, like, standing in front of she's taking a selfie, and she's just, like, all pretty, and she got her hand in her hair, and she's, like, posing.
And the dog's behind
and
her
then just, like, dildo. Just right there on her bed, just got to straighten her mouth, just straighten the dog's mouth, and she's like, ta-da!
My dog's learning how to use it for me. I'm training. Oh, alright. Too much and too little fun at the same time. Let's pop out of this category. Novelty item. That's right. Adult novelty item. That's one of the terms used for them. This is a novelty item.
Though that's what they call it on the Facebook groups, like the little yard sale ones. That's what they call it on the local Facebook groups that I'm on.
You should never sell your personal novelty items. And to anybody else, you should never buy somebody else's used personal novelty items.
One person recently did, and I commented on it, and I said, "Are you actually doing this, or are you just being a troll to everybody?" And they're like, "No, I really am." I was like, ew, no, just don't do that.
You couldn't boil it hot enough. Sorry.
Yeah, and 2 days later, the ad was marked as sold. So I'm just like, oh, nope. I just,
never been washed.
I shivered on that.
All right. I'm sure we have the perfect screen for... If you want to sell your dildo, and it's used, the buyer should be like...
Yeah.
Oh, where could this conversation go next? Back to the board.
Let's try the LGBT alphabet.
LGBTQ plus alphabet it is. It's just LGBT. The rest should start something to reflect their own dynamics.
I've always thought everything just falls under LGBT. Like, just the 4 letters, just it means everything.
Does it?
I'm probably one of the most disconnected people
Okay.
from the world. So I've only known of like gay, straight, transgender, and just LGBT, and like all this Q and plus stuff is just like, what is all that?
Well, the Q kind of feels redundant. Unwanted Reaper continuing in the chat.
Yeah.
Ew, or like, smell it. In that case, it should be LGD. Okay, so the LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, are supposed to be, and in which case the T really doesn't belong there. There's supposed to be denominations of what you're attracted to separately from the normality of society. I would suppose would be an easy way to say that. The add-ons, well, I'm non-binary because I'm not a man or a woman, and I'm poly because I don't care what you are, and I'm whatever the other terms are because I'm trying to use them somewhat properly. The rest of that is how you identify, where the first few are your preference. Hey, Data, how we doing today? So I've tried to say this in a few ways because I like rewording things and trying to look at them differently also helps people think about them differently. So if you separate these groups and you separate them into, okay, we are of a different sexuality, and okay, we are of a different identity, then you have the LGB group, or LGBTQ group, and then you have the TQIA plus group. And then you have people who are like, okay, well, I'm in both groups because I identify differently, but I'm also prefer the opposite sex. But see, that's where the cloudiness comes in, is what's the opposite sex if you're saying there are no sexes, and how are you trying to be the opposite if you, what's the opposite of what you are if there's no opposite on a line? And it gets confusing. So how are they the same? How are they different? How do we reflect the dynamic of this, but not say that some pink-haired Snuggly poster, whatever her name was on the same category as Ellen DeGeneres?
I guess we could just like take everybody, like you could create their own dynamics. And then if they do have that, you can just put them on their own little island and go, here you go. And just leave them all over there.
Yeah, my delay is pretty quick. I got my settings starting to come together really nice, Data. So this show's finally starting to be nice. In fact, I forgot about some of the things I was doing. And there's this here set up so I can chat with the guests. And I forgot about all the shot changes I was working on, but I'll get it. It's part of my new repertoire. I gotta get into a habit of it. And then what else do we got? We'll go back to this one here so we can show the chat. So I honestly think they need to reflect their own dynamic, their own differences, and their view of it in a separate group. Because, like you say, you believe everybody's in that one group. If they don't see things as normal, cis, normative, or however you want to label that, you're in the LGBTQ plus alphabet. So that means if you're not normal sexually or identify normal sexually or whatever, that you belong in that category. So that's just basically a default drop all.
Yeah. Because up until, I want to say, about 8 months ago, I didn't even hear anything of the Q plus and then like the rest of it, because I'm just so disconnected from everything because I don't have cable and I don't have regular internet. I have just a little Wi-Fi hotspot that you can check out from my library, which is what I've been using for the past couple of months.
Well, that's cool.
And yeah, and so I've always been so disconnected from it all. And when I first started learning about it, I was like, what in the world is all this? I thought it was just gay, straight, bi, transgender.
And that's what it was supposed to be.
And yeah.
But it just seems like it's it started in what, the late 70s, early mid 80s is when the LGBT movement really started to grow, and I say that from being a early 80s baby, so I could have a vague perspective of what happened when I was a kid. And then as the 90s came about, it really started to grow, and people started going, well, yeah, I'm that too. I'm going to come out and be open about it because I don't feel I should be ashamed. And now it's, hey, I think I feel like a person that I'm not, so I'm going to say I'm non-binary because I'm unsure of myself. And then you just all of a sudden become part of that community.
Yeah, that was always the point to where it was just kind of like, it lost me, because it was, I didn't know how, like, you could say, oh, I think I'm straight, or I think I'm gay, or however, but I'm not really, so I'm just going to class myself as non-binary.
You know, and there's a point. There's a large portion of your life, and call it a part of every day, call it a good part of your youth years is, you know, a good way to put it. You're always changing your perspective and what you enjoy. So until you're exposed to something, you can't make a decision on how you feel about it. Once you're exposed to it, you make the decision of whether or not you're going to accept the exposure, whether you want to continue. I'm trying to be vague here so it applies in generalized terms. It's like, if you hear about being gay, some people are going to go, no, that's absolutely not for me. Some people are going to go, that's interesting. You know, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna learn, and maybe in the future I might be okay with it. Some people are going to be like, yeah, that's me. I'm okay with it. What's wrong with you for not accepting me how I am? It's everybody sees things differently, and as you grow and you're exposed to these things, you're exposed to them differently, and that denotes how you look at these things. And then as you carry on, some people do change through life. Reading the comment in the chat, hopefully it's not embarrassing or you wouldn't have typed it. I will be honest, as a boy I thought I'd make a better girl. Now I'm 33 and glad I kept what I got from my parents. I wanted to be an astronaut. I have never flown in a space shuttle. I mean, just because you feel like you can do these things or you feel you want these things, you know, granted, feeling like you're the opposite sex is completely different than wanting to be an astronaut. So, with that in mind, you grow up learning these things, and you take what you learn and you take what's input into you, and you make the decisions as you grow. These decisions may or may not change, and those decisions shouldn't preclude you or include you into a group just because you don't abide by the norm. You're an individual person whose decisions and perspectives are going to be very different from the next person, even if they're almost identical to you. Yeah, it's a learning experience. It's weird how this is all gone. It's just way out of proportion from LGBTQ, we're being honest and happy with who we are, to I'm confused, I don't know, I'm still learning, so therefore I'm going to put a label on myself.
Yeah, I think most people should just like wait to label themselves and then until they know what it is.
Right. Get a guest close-up shot. I'm working on that. All it says is dark. This is dark. I have all sorts of cool new stuff I'm working on for this show. Would you like to go ahead and pick us out another topic?
Let's try the internet.
The internet. Oh, I think my wife just got home. Early. Really, really early. Okay, internet. I'm not reading. The internet, a utility like... Is the internet a utility like electricity or a commodity like a phone?
I think when it first started out, it was like a commodity. But now it's basically just a utility.
Do you think?
Yeah, because, well, from how my electricity company that does it, which is basically the only place you can get internet itself other than a phone provider, is they just sell it the same way as electric or the water or sewage or however else they do it. But I vaguely remember hearing stories about when the internet first started, it was like just a military thing.
Yep.
To where they only used it for certain things to communicate. And so they didn't really need it to watch cat videos or anything like that, so they only kept it to be a commodity. But now that everybody has access to it and there's so many different ways to use it, it could just be like a utility.
Okay, so here's a fair question then. And I'm going to use you specifically for this. How are you on the internet, did you say just a few minutes ago?
It's through a Wi-Fi hotspot that the local library here in my town, they get it from the Verizon company itself.
Okay, so let's backtrack. You're sitting in your house, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have running water?
Uh-huh.
Do you have electricity?
Yeah.
Do you have gas piped in there?
Yeah.
All right, and you have sewage going out.
Uh-huh.
So where's your internet connection?
Right now it's plugged up.
Did you catch that?
Yeah.
It's not a standard commodity that you turn on and pay for when you live in your house. Or not a standard utility. It is a commodity that you opt in and opt out of. Well, with technically then electricity and water would also be commodities that you opt in and opt out of.
Yeah, well that's kind of how I've always seen it. But on the same thing of it is, I don't think that internet would be a requirement to live. So I don't know if that would make it itself a commodity.
That would make it something that you opt into, therefore a commodity. Whereas, your water and your electricity, water needed to live, electricity modernized needed to live, but not 100% necessarily.
Yeah. I get a little confused on some things because when it's talk about like a utility, the way it's advertised in my town, they call it a utility. So I've always just kind of gone off of that.
No, absolutely. And that's what the conversation is over. Some people want to say internet is straight up a utility. Everybody should have access to it for free. But if it's a utility, what do you pay for your water? Because my bill doesn't come in at zero.
Yeah.
So this is the argument is, if it's a utility, something that you need for your house to run properly, then you should have an internet line connected and only just have to turn it on and off, like calling an electric company to turn the power off. But instead you have to call a company to come install a line, and you have to decide whether or not you're willing to pay for it. You have to decide what size package or whatever you're willing to pay for, how much you're going to get. Water, you pay for what you use. Electricity, you pay for what you use. You just use it.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's very, very similar similar circumstances between them, but they're also a little different at the same time. So it's really hard to go, well, electricity is a utility and water is a utility, but internet's a commodity because of these reasons. But then under those reasons, water and electricity are then a commodity and not a utility. Do you see? Like, it's hard to argue back and forth when you bring internet in, and how long we've had it and what everybody does with it and how necessary it becomes in today's life. It could almost be considered a utility, but it still kind of falls on that commodity.
Yeah. I've had issues with my son's school. They treat the internet as just like, oh, everybody must have it. We're assuming that you have the fastest internet possible, so everything will be online. But the Wi-Fi hotspot that I use, you can only have it for like 2.5 weeks, and then you have to give it back to the library. And if you want to check it out again, you have to go on a hold list.
Right.
So it's like I have it 1 week, I don't have it for 2 months, and it's very spotty. And so I try to talk to my son's school about it and tell him, okay, I don't have regular access to the internet. Can you all work with me? And they don't want to do that because everything's just easier online for them.
Right. In which case, then it becomes a utility. and then you have to pay that bill. It's not an option anymore.
Yeah. I just basically told the school, I was like, well, you can work with us or they can just not do this homework that y'all want.
Right. Let's go back through the chat here. Where I am, I make it one better. I'm sure I would have regretted now if I did change gender. A lot of people do. Data Westland. Off topic, I just found a free, clean, fast Windows video screen capture program called Microsoft Expression Encoder 4. But I bet you it would probably interfere with the Microsoft Game Bar capture device that's already installed in the system. But maybe we'll chat about that sometime. Busted. For what? What did I do? Oh, that's a hard one, but still commodities. Data Wasteland. Hey, Nug. Well, I'll just say it again. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. It's hard to live without it, but people still do it. Still, and I can say that about a lot of things. I do know of some residences in Amish areas that I've passed through that their houses literally have a hand pump well in the front yard. No electricity, no running water. That's how they live. They don't pay for these utilities. They're not necessities to them. So that's kind of the perspective I was looking at it from, is I do know some areas where people live without electricity and water, and here I am. I have electricity, water, internet, cable, cell phone. Granted, I might have to shut something off here soon, make some leeway, but I do have these things. So I could theoretically do without all of them. Be awfully bored.
Yeah, I've lived before in a trailer that had no electricity. It had one plug that did work that we managed to get the refrigerator hooked up to. But after we couldn't pay the bill and it was turned off, it was colder, so we didn't have to worry about the food going bad then and there. We moved out shortly after that, but there was a time that I did live without electricity. And so it was hard as hell, but you could technically do it.
I require the internet. It is how I work. Well, I guess you could sort of call this my part-time job. Not that I make anything of it. This is my part-time volunteer work. Comcast sucks. They're nice to you, but they still suck. I think basically what it comes down to is, in order for the cable companies to get better, they all have to cooperate and share their lines, like cell phone companies decided to do at one point, where they share the towers. And once companies can share the lines and decipher their own signals, they're already buying from the same companies for the services they're providing to customers. By sending them back through the same lines, they're probably going to save themselves some money. Plus, you get all these groups that contract together, and now they're going to be fighting a little to keep the price down and keep everything in an average level, and just get people to fight over, okay, who's going to pay which company $39.99 this month or that month. They're going to start offering different levels, different things for people to add onto the packages. But they need to start to work together. The Comcast and Spectrum and Time Warner and whoever else is still out there needs to do what AT&T, Sprint, and everybody else had once done and gone, okay, well, we'll let you use our towers, or we'll let you put this transceiver on our tower. You give us a commission rate off of that, and there you go. You don't have to put your tower up.
Yeah.
I think that's what that comes down to. Once a month pay sucks. Yes, it does. I'm really getting to the point where paying what I'm paying for the amount of internet that I'm getting, just the cost of what you're using is getting too high. Once a month pay sucks. Yes, it does. I called them to get a credit for the 2 weeks without doing the hurricane. They said not after 90 days. Yeah, that's another thing. I'm fighting with my phone company right now over a $650 buy one get one free credit I was supposed to get. And because I signed up for another promotion that saved me like $2,300 over 2 years, they hid the first promotion, so now I'm fighting back and forth to get the credit, and they just do so much to get the customer in, or to get them to buy something new, which I fell for, but I got a huge deal, so they do so much it just gets confusing, and they won't work with certain things because it doesn't fall within their limits. So yeah, I'm beginning to hate the rules and stuff. But they can be picky. If you're in an area and all they offer is Comcast cable, you're getting Comcast cable.
Yeah, that's my town. We have one company. It's FPB. It does everything. It has all of your water, your electricity, your cable, your Wi-Fi, internet, and all of that. And it's only one company you can go through.
That's a literal 2-level monopoly.
Yeah, and if you try to go through like another company like DirecTV and have them come in, you have to pay for the installment of all of the lines and everything to do for the DirecTV to come through, because FPB will not let you use their existing equipment that's built into like apartments and houses.
Yep. A lot of companies in a lot of areas are like that. I lived in an apartment building that every time somebody changed cable companies, you'd see these big boxes go up on the wall outside, and it was just looked like a metal and black spider web going all over the side of the house because people would just start running new lines everywhere.
Yeah.
The difference between Comcast and the power company, you prepay before you use them. So yeah, there's a very good difference between a utility and a commodity. Is a utility you pay for the amount you use afterwards. A commodity you pay for the amount you intend to use beforehand. It should be illegal for them to charge you for service not provided. I agree. The thing I like and dislike at the same time is if I were to pay ahead for my electric bill, I would expect my electric bill to only be a certain amount per month. It would be a set rate regardless of how much I use, like my cell phone. I have unlimited minutes, unlimited calls, blah, 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 forever. I can do whatever I want except for that damn data stipulation they throw in there. But I'll pay for that ahead of time for a set unlimited amount, whereas when my water bill comes in, I get charged for a flat rate. If I go over a certain amount, then they charge me per the amount I go over. Electricity, the same thing. They charge me for the amount I use. So I guess that is a pretty good defining way to go between a utility and a commodity. Oh, what time we got? We got more than enough time for a few more topics.
Let's try television.
Television. Is it possible that live streams are the new interactive television?
They're my interactive television.
They are now. You're right here.
Yeah. I have a PS3 that I managed to buy with my taxes last year. So when I put YouTube up on my TV, that's basically like the Philip DeFranco show. When I watch that, that's the basic news channels I have.
Yeah.
And my husband calls it just a weird cable setup of how I just use YouTube and other internet websites to use, and like live streams included, to use them as like my news sources and how I get information now.
I find that I was never really a soap opera person. Hey, Mary Bear, how are we doing today? However, I find myself strangely drawn to not leave the Kumite, even if it runs for 7 hours. I don't know what it is. Like, once I turn that on and it gets through the music and everything, I'll set that phone somewhere and wander around, do my chores. I will let that play and just see what happens because I have no idea.
Yeah, I do that. I did that with Sinatra's stream last night. I plugged my headphones and I was listening to it, and I was just doing other stuff along with it, and I was just like, oh, okay.
I'm an early riser, so I'm in bed by like 8 or 9 and listening to whatever stream is canceling out my day. So I was watching that as I fell asleep. I got up and had to rewatch the end of it this morning just to see what was going on.
Yeah, I've fallen asleep during 2 or 3 different streams. Um, there was one time I woke up to one from irate bear, and I was like, okay, so I watched about 5 minutes of it, but then I just ended up falling asleep because it was just so early. And apparently I listened to it in my sleep, and then I woke up and I was like, I can't remember any of this. So I had to go back and rewatch it, and I was like, oh, okay.
I went back and rewatched it, and without sitting there watching the chat, sometimes rewatching parts of it, you can tell a different demeanor, because when you pay attention to what's going on in the chat while you're listening, you kind of think about what everybody in the chat is saying as you're listening. But when I went through this morning and listened without paying attention to the chat going on for the most part, it was, okay, I hear good things and bad things from both sides. You guys are both arguing good points. Are you hearing the points that you're arguing against each other?
Yeah.
You didn't interrupt me, Maribear. Also, if you do type in a social media that I have, my Nightbot is programmed to give you a link. I also am glad your GoFundMe went well, Nugs. I hope everything comes together and you get the carpets cleaned and dried before everybody gets home, because if they're still wet, they get messy quick. But live streams have become the new interactive television, so much to the point where, and I don't know what the term people are using, it's user level broadcasting or something like that, where you're going from one stream to the next. And I need to get caught in one of those loops of somebody's big stream, like, hey, NumbedSkull is going to be on in the morning, check out his show, and then after my show, usually Failure's on, and then after Failure you get the Kumite, and then after the Kumite somebody will pop in with a gaming show, and it's like, I just throw that on. That's my TV for the day. I get my show out of the way, and then I watch everybody else's, and then see what's going on for the day, and I might pop in a video in the middle of there somewhere.
Yeah.
So
I have time when my kids are at school. When they're at school, I can actually sit down and pay attention to most things. But if they're home, I have so much trouble trying to listen to live streams, because some of it they can't listen to, like the Ghost Poo podcast.
Oh yeah.
They can't always watch that one.
Yeah, I know that one. I move my dinner time around
sometimes
just to be able to watch Ghost Poo without the kids.
Yeah, I have to stick my headphones in real quick before they start to say something, and it's like, woohoo! Because there's been a couple times, like, I've heard them start to go down, like, one line of conversations, like, I know where this is going, and I get my headphones just in time for them to say something like, the kids shouldn't really hear.
Like an MFK?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have about the same routine. Yeah, see, a lot of people do that. They'll find something they enjoy, and that'll become part of their routine for the day. And if somebody else is doing something that falls in that line, it's like, okay, cool. I'm not saying that I've never left the Kumite, because, real life happens. Service drops, whatever. But I've been there since he was at, like, 600 subs. Maybe just over 600, and I've watched him grow from there, and I've just kind of hung out. I enjoy watching it now, but it's not as interactive for me as it used to be.
Yeah.
It feels more interactive when he gets people on, though. Go ahead.
The few times I've watched the Kumite, it's like I can't really chat much into it because there's just so many people watching. And if I don't watch it from the very start, I can kind of get lost of, okay, what are they talking about now? And then it just kind of like distracts me from the rest of it. So if I don't click on it immediately as soon as it happens, then I probably won't end up watching it until after it's already done and I can just restart it.
Yeah, a stream that long, I probably won't go back and rewatch most of it. If I do watch a stream, I think about 3 hours is the max length of a stream I'd like to go back for, and then I'll put it on 1.5 to 2 times speed to try and make sure I get through it as quick as possible so I don't miss any of the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kumite chat is almost unfollowable. If you have a conversation with somebody in there, by the time they reply to you, it could be a string of ones and you'll never find it.
Yeah.
For the record, if you are in a chat, the chat only holds like 500 comments or 1,000 comments max. So once people keep chatting, comments disappear. So if you tap on a comment and you're replying, that comment will slowly lift to the top, and by the time you press send, that comment that you were replying to is often gone.
Yeah. There's been times it's like I try to see where it's at to reply to something, but it moves so quick and then it just kind of disappears forever, and I'm like, okay, never mind.
I didn't know what I was replying to anyway.
Yeah.
Welcome, G. Bronnet. How are we doing today? Enjoy your new wrench. I'm wrenching until I get to maybe 150, 200 people, then I'm going to stop wrenching because I don't want to run into the problems I see with the bigger creators handing out wrenches. Back to the Kumite, I believe, if I was reading the tweets and everything right, I believe there's going to be another wrench apocalypse where they're going to try and drop down to a couple hundred wrenches as opposed to 1,000 or so. Because his Kumite is lagging, the stream is lagging and bouncing because of errors with Google and having so many mods on there. So, yeah. But yeah, I got to do a conversation about that. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that last night on Sinatra's stream, there was 2 or 3 people that when they got their wrenches, they just immediately started timing out the people they didn't like or just anyone that didn't have a wrench and just like abusing the power of the wrench.
Yeah, I will have to say, and Vamp Candy called me on this when I was hanging out, chatting with her and Geek Thulu and some other people that, you know, I have timed out people in the Kumite before. Honestly, I timed out the white YouTuber for like 20 minutes. I've timed out a few other people, but I watch for those ones like we were doing before the Kumite wrenches got out of control. You get those guys that pop in with the stupid name, I'm here to troll you, and then they'll type in, so-and-so's phone number is 4473-2516-434, and it's like, okay, time that person out. They're literally intentionally being stupid and whatnot. Then you get like 50 people tying them out all at once. That's just fun to be on the bandwagon once in a while.
Yeah, sometimes when I see it, it's just like, I'll go like, I want to do this too. But I only have wrenches on your stream and 2 other channels.
I have a couple, and I respect my wrenches. Like, I've backed way down in the Kumite. I've stopped banning people, and I went through and I was reposting the chats that King Carl was banning. So yeah, I've changed my wrench to have a little better, more appropriate fun with it. I'm against censorship, so I'll never use my wrench. The wrench power, believe it or not, if a comment does get removed or deleted by somebody else, it gives you the ability to see it, and that's one of the big things I like about the wrench is I don't want to not see the comments as they go by, even if somebody wanted it not seen. You know? But if somebody's already been blocked, I'm jumping on that bandwagon, you're getting another 10, or what is it, 300 seconds. You're getting another 300 seconds.
I used to get timed out, whose stream was it? Oh, shit. Jeff Holiday stream. I commented on there, and he was just like, oh, no, I don't like this. And then he would time me out. And then Monday Matt, they did that to me one day. I went on there, I'm like, I just came from a stream on Sinatra's channel, and they said this and this and this and that. And other times I would do just emojis, and then they would just time me out for doing emojis, like as soon as they saw my screen name. And I was just like, I'm just trying to have some fun.
Sometimes you do just go in to troll a little bit. You want to have fun. as much as I want to go out there and troll and have fun, I want to stay on that fine line of, I'm not abusing my wrench. I'm just using it. It's there. I can't let it sit and get rusty.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can knock out one more topic before we call this a show.
Okay. I guess you can pick the last one.
I'll let the chat pick. I don't pick because I write them.
Okay.
Does the chat want to pick? First one to throw a topic up is the one we choose. Do 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 do. Sex.
My husband's favorite subject.
It is wrong to forwardly ask someone you are attracted to about their genital preferences, to be sure.
It's not wrong. I mean, there's situations where you kind of want to be discreet about it, like you don't want to yell it across a room, but it's not wrong to ask someone.
But that's their private information. What if they don't want to sleep with you? Is it any of your business?
Well, if you're like actually attracted to them and they're attracted to you back in a certain situation, and you're meeting up for the first time because of a blind date, and you're thinking about hooking up, then you should share some information, because it's just kind of like, well, oh, are you clean of STDs? It's technically private information to have an STD, but also the other person should have a right to know about it.
And this is where it comes in. G. Bronert. Not in my opinion, but according to trans people, it is offensive. So, okay. Let's say if you walk up to somebody on the street and you say, this person's attractive, you're single, it appears that they do not have a ring or anything on their finger, and you start hitting on them and it seems to be going all right. But then you start to get this little thing in the back of your head, am I hitting on the right person for me? With some quotes around that. Do you ask the person before you go, hey, let's go have a coffee, and insinuate that you want to do something? Or do you think that's too forward? So it's like, you know what, I think you might be a guy. Are you packing something I don't want down there?
Well, in that type of situation, I think it would be to forwardly ask, but only when you actually know of, okay, yes, something like this is going to be in my definite future. But if it's just like, oh, I'm going to meet up with you and hit on you on the street, let's go have a coffee and see how things go from there.
Okay, so let's take away the possibility of somebody packing the wrong junk. And let's say a guy walked up to you on the street and said, hey, you're cute, and I don't know what you look like, so this is just a generic, just throwing a story in there. Hey, you're cute, but just to make sure, you are a girl, right? Would that be...
I've had people do that before.
But doesn't that just sound awkward?
It can be very awkward. I guess, for me, I didn't get offended when I was asked the question, because I had short hair at the time, and it was quite short, and if you're not looking directly at me, you kind of can't tell that I am female. So with the short hair, someone has come up and are like, oh, hey, you're really cute. And then they did ask me, are you a guy or are you a girl? And I told them, I said, I'm a married girl. And it ended that there. But it's happened to me before. And I didn't really get offended by it. It was just, I can see why someone would get offended by it. Because you're like, oh, you're basically calling me ugly. But I can see why someone would get offended.
Hey, I can say I've accidentally done that to somebody before. I was at work, and the person who came in had a fro and a thick, heavy jacket on, and I saw him behind. I was like, sir, are you the receiver? And she turned around and she went, I am not a man. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't even a hey, you're cute. What are you kind of thing. It was whoops, you look like a man from behind. Okay. Yeah. Welcome, Foggy. I did see you walk in. Have a seat. Relax. Got a few minutes left, or a few seconds left. But you know, don't get me wrong. You see people out on the street, and sometimes you walk by someone, and you take that second glance and go, "Wait a second, what did I just see? Was that?
Yeah,
everything
there's
on
a
that
few
okay?"
people in my town. You kind of got to look 2 or 3 times and be like, no, that is not what it looks like.
How dare you be polite?
Yeah.
I find myself, as a man, and I've said this to my wife, so saying it in front of her sitting on the couch behind me, it shouldn't hurt too badly. When I go in public and I see an attractive woman, I look. And I find myself often looking to go, is there something that says she's not a woman? Just in case, am I looking at the wrong thing?
Yeah, I've told my husband before, like, I've caught him a time or two, like, ooh, I see a girl. I've told him, like, when we first got together and we were dating, I was like, I'm not going to get mad at you if you go and look at another woman. It's nature to look. You're hardwired to continue the species. You're going to look at what attracts you.
Absolutely.
And with me, like, I will look with my husband. And we will debate on, like, you know, how good of a girl's butt is this, or like things like that. And with some of the people in my town, we will actually debate of whether or not we think that this person is a male or a female. Because some of them you just can't tell. And he's like, well, but look at the butt. The butt indicates female. And I'm like, no. Look at the front. You see a bulge.
Yeah.
And like we've debated things.
Oh, interesting topic to have on a game show. What can I say? Alright, so let's check the chat and see if we have anything else. Oh, you have been streaming for an hour. Thoggy late once again. Well, Thoggy, I post my videos as soon as they're finished processing, so there's that. It'll be there for later. Watch it in 2 times the speed and see how funny I sound. With that,
I'm probably going to rewatch this one and share it like everywhere I can and be like, look what I did today.
I have to say, is that Jack on your shoulder?
That is on my forearm. I just got him and I'm just like all excited. And so I changed the profile picture on Hangouts to that. Because it's just like, I just want to show it off because it's just an awesome tattoo.
I was looking for something to post over the podium, where right now it just has a little square that says dark for your presence in the Google Hangouts. I was looking for like an icon or something to put there. I was like, I know she had a sloth or something like that. Where am I going to find this to put a picture out there for her? But it's like, I'll just use Google Hangouts. I'm sure they'll work for me.
Yeah.
All right.
The other picture I had, it was a sideways picture of my cat. But I don't know how to get it to go back correctly. So it's just a sideways picture of my cat that's looking like he's hanging on a wall.
Let's see if I can show. I'm going to have to go into my settings here in the last few minutes and see if I can show the audience. Whoop. That was an accident. There we go. There we go. We'll do that. And then we'll have to come down here, turn that off, and then come back down here during the chat. There we go. Now they can see you. Tell me, everybody, with the exception that Google took some color out of there, that looks pretty cool. The red isn't in there. That's just my curtains. So that's her cool new Jack so that she can show that off on stream. Alright, and with that, we are going to head back into the booth here and get ready to shut the show down. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. It has been an awesome conversation. We'll be doing this again on Friday. I should have at least one guest lined up for Friday also. Thank you, Dark Sasuke, for joining me today.
Oh, it was very much fun.
I'm glad you had fun. Let other people know. Hopefully I can get some more guests on here in the future. Thank you, audience, Thoggy and Reaper and everybody else, Data, for Merber and whoever I'm not seeing on my list here, Nugs. Thank you for joining us today. We're glad to have you along. Hopefully we'll see you all Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Thank you. Have a good day.